Last speaker of the day. I thought I'd go through the periodic table, so pay attention. I'm Kai Bright. I'm Chairman Ucore, Chairman and CEO of Ucore. Mechanical engineer by trade. When I was 30 years old, as a very young mechanical engineer, I actually started a Tier 1 automotive supply company, supplying people like Ford, GM, Stellantis, Honda, Nissan, Toyota, VW, Mercedes. And the way we were super competitive here in Canada was because we innovated our processes. We were pretty slick with our materials, and we did things that were unique going forward. So here we are talking about rare earth and critical minerals. And critical minerals, China has a lot of tools in the toolbox. China can look at graphite, they can look at lithium, they can look at rare earth, and they can really find ways to geopolitically attack in a very tense world right now. And I'll be including the tense situation just down in the Oval Office a couple of days ago. But specific to rare earth, China has 60% control of the resource and 85 to 90% control of the refining. And the key there is that you can actually control a resource. If you don't have all the minerals in country, if you control the refining and processing, you control that resource. So with rare earth, that's a challenge. So we, Ucore, we're a Canadian company, and we thought about the massive scale that China has when it comes to processing rare earth material. And it is massive. It's a 4-year head start. It's uncontested, unchallenged expertise. We thought, how do we go after that? Well, there's only one way to do it, the way the West has always done it, which is innovation. You've got to innovate your way forward. And in May of 2020, we purchased a company called Innovation Metal Stork. And they have taken what was a solvent extraction chemistry that's pretty well known around the world. They looked at what was happening in China in particular, where you have large mixer cylinder tanks that go onto football fields, literally football fields. And they go from tank to tank to tank to tank to tank, thousands of stages, to be able to make the chemical switch, as they call it, to get to the heavy rare earth and light rare earth that's needed to process and make these clean energy materials of the 21st century work. What Innovation Metals had come up with was a technology where they have a column-based computerized technology. Column-based, you can almost see the lower picture here on the picture, but it's a column-based tech, and that column takes 30% of the floor space that you would typically have in a huge football field full of mixer cylinders. So same chemistry, but let's use a pressurized system rather than unpressurized. Let's get ESG compliant. Let's get rid of all the wasteful things that happen in the processes in China. Let's make it much more efficient. Let's get a recovery and our purity into a really good form, and let's run thousands of hours on this tech to prove out that we as a Canadian company can take on this challenge of refining. Because if you try to replicate what China's done, it's not going to happen. They're too far ahead. You've got to be clever. You've got to be nimble. So what are the techniques that I've learned and be able to pass on to our team? 21st century digital manufacturing, work cell mentality, turn systems on, turn systems off. The solvent extraction plant in China, when you get it up and running, it runs, and it runs for months. And if it stops, it's a problem. You have to reset it. With a column-based tech that you can stop and restart in a matter of hours, that's quite an advantage. So you take those advantages, you go, okay, let's now take that and let's put it into a commercial deployment. We looked on the Gulf Coast of the U.S. We found a brownfield building, 80,000 square feet in Alexandria, Louisiana. It's on an ex-Air Force base, which happens to be a foreign trade zone, which means it's tariff-free. All the talk of tariffs right now, I spent the whole morning dealing with tariffs and the latest threats are coming out of the White House, unfortunately. But we'll deal with that. And you commercially deploy. So we've now got a copy and paste of a column-based technology, copy and paste, put it into Louisiana, and actually started with a couple of production lines. When you start with a couple of production lines, we're not talking about a $300 or $400 million solvent extraction plant that might process only lights. We're talking about a $30 to $60 million investment. $30 million gets you a couple of production lines. You can go after things like samarium for samarium cobalt magnets. You can go after heavy dysprosium and terbium mentioned. You can go after gadolinium using nuclear reactors. You can be very flexible with it all. So we invested in Ucore. Right now, the number on the screen here shows $30 million because we're starting with a couple of production lines. We're going to move quick. We're going to commercialize. We'll be in business in 2026, serving real customers, real markets. $15, $20 million investment. You're investing in robotics. You're investing in AI. You're investing in semiconductors, where rare earths are used to make semiconductors, a $1 trillion industry by the end of the decade. You're investing in renewable energy. You're investing in green energy. All of that. And we need it. We're a Canadian company. We're innovating. It's the only way the West's ever won. You have to innovate. Thank you.
Maybe the last question to Pat. You talked about Ucore's rapid SX technology, how it's demonstrated significant advantages in rare earth element separation. Can you tell us a little bit more about the partnerships you have, how they've supported commercial deployment?
Yeah, certainly. And I appreciate we've got to work together on this because it's always interesting when I go to rare earth conferences around the world and whatnot, and everyone's so secretive about what they're doing. So what the heck are you up to? I mean, you've got to work together in order to make things happen. That commercial demo plant that I mentioned, by the way, is in Kingston, Ontario, Canada. It's about the size of this room. It's actually as high as this room, too, because that's how high the columns are that actually allow the processing to happen in 30% of the space. And as far as partnerships and support, at the end of the day, your economic model has to work. So you've got to have robust economic models. You got to look at it. It's got to work. It's got to work in Chinese driven down prices where you can pick a floor and have a price that works for the Western world. You got to have the ceiling too that benefits the customer at the end of the day. But we have a program with NRCan. We have a program with the DoD, Department of Defense. Both of them are just to run thousands of hours on our plant. They go, oh my God, this tent is really cool. It's groundbreaking. It's game changing. Here, we'll pay you money to run thousands of hours because if you can commercially deploy this, that's where you need to be. So certainly from a partnership standpoint, the Canadian government, the U.S. DoD, very much in line. When it comes to deploying the technology, the state of Louisiana stepped up with a $15 million incentive package to help us get on board with that. And actually, recently, the province of Ontario stepped up with their innovation fund and put some money towards accelerating the technology development so we can deploy in 2026. Crucial to that, too, is your feedstock partnerships. You've got to have feedstock that works. And as I said at the outset of my little talk there, you don't have to control the resource and have the resource in country in order to make it happen. You better control the refining and processing to make it happen. And so that's really where we're focused at this point. And we've got some big relationships that we're developing in Australia, Brazil, certainly in Canada, and the Far East, not China, of course, but Far East as well. And I know there's a couple people here from TISA Group, great group. They understand the critical mineral layout of the world, and they would be one of our partners that we look towards as we grow our business. And then finally, the customer at the end of the day, and I can't say a whole lot, we're under NDA with a number of potential customers. Customers even know they can get product at a reliable price at a reliable time, and we're working with customers to make sure we deliver the product they want. And again, back to the uniqueness of our technology. If it's very bespoke and custom nature, you can turn it on, turn it off, and get around that massive 40-year lead that China has. That's where you need to be. 21st century digital manufacturing, make it happen. I've had a career doing that, and I love working with the team that would assemble. And we will be one of the heavy rare earth producers, along with some other unique ones like gadolinium, samarium, and others. Thank you.
Thank you, Pat, and very promising.